2018, a crack YouTube unit was sent to social media prison by an algorithm for the crime they didn't commit. These producers promptly escaped from maximum security social media stockade to the internet underground. Today, still wanted by social media, they survive as producers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the Smash team.
All right, so we're looking at the sun here in a colored magnetogram mode. And we see an area looking like a sunspot might be forming here, this active region in the upper left of your screen. It does have a bit of a diagonal polarity line there between the green and the yellow portions, although we don't see any umbra yet, so this is not yet a sunspot. Here's a view of the last 8.5 hours and 171 angstroms. And there you can see that active region. Otherwise, not a lot else to cover. Solar flux all the way down to 66. And let's take a little bigger image of that colored magnetogram. Go for the full res here. And there's the condition of that active region. Again, not yet a sunspot. This is just a regular old cycle 24 plage. And let's move on to the real-time solar wind, as we got started a little bit late today. So we see the phi angle around 145. We see a couple fleeting connections with that coronal hole. And actually, let's go back and look at that in 193 angstroms. We'll do the magnetic field lines at the same time here. There you go. And that's the most current photo in 193 angstroms, complete with magnetic lines. We see a lot of magnetic complexity associated with that plage region. Otherwise, not a lot to talk about except weak solar activity. We did see some odd fluctuations back here. Late afternoon yesterday, universal time. Probably something like a cosmic ray flux, and we will look at cosmic ray flux in a minute. Anyway, solar wind density, 8.63 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed, 299 kilometers per second. All right, let's look at the magnetosphere movies. We'll let all of these play through. And first we'll look at the velocity. And this is the magnetohydrodynamic velocity. If you're not familiar with the term magnetohydrodynamics, we're going to cover that too, so stay tuned. We see some variations in the solar wind coming in there. All in all, pretty weak activity all around the horn. Here's the density. Density is slightly elevated right now. And we'll let that play through for the purposes of archiving data, as we cannot access old data from this. Considering the possibility of maybe running more live streams and creating more screen rips of this data. In the meantime, we hope University of Michigan will allow their archive to be accessed. There's the pressure, pretty weak, and we see a greater pressure on the bow shock side than the magnetotail side. Next, we'll look at geospace ground magnetic perturbations. First at the poles, and then on the global scale. So first, let's look down the Z fields. If you're not familiar, the Z fields of the Earth are something like this, and you're looking right down them when you look at this view. Anyway, there are the geospace ground perturbations. I would note that the South Pole is migrating toward Western Australia. And we have two North Poles, and the main perturbations are typically above the Canadian one, not the Siberian one. So let's look at this from the globe perspective. Pardon my scrolling. Nothing too noteworthy to comment on here. And let's continue on. We are looking to make some changes in the videos soon. There will be content going up on Patreon shortly. And here's the electron forecast. For you new viewers out there, this has to do with things like GPS errors and satellite drag. We can see very low amounts of electrons right now. Let's talk about smAsho.org and the mission, which is to assist, study, and report on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics. Believe it or not, physics is being rewritten, folks. So welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. It's a great time to be alive if you're into science. Also, to raise the awareness of the general public of the relationship between space weather and Earth effects. Some people seem to think that Earth weather has nothing to do with space, and Earth lives in space, so get real. Also, to connect and consult with media organizations to multiply our reach by doing things like calling into national scale radio programs. Also, to demonstrate cutting-edge proof of concept solutions to problems like growing tomatoes indoors over the winter time. Also, to publish scientific papers in a multidisciplinary manner, including sciences, but not limited to sciences, such as spectroscopy, chemistry, astrophysics, health, wellness, longevity, cosmology, biology, magnetohydrodynamics, geology, etc. Also, to assist mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomenon in order to optimize value and reduce risk and liability and save lives and resources and adapt no matter what the adversity is. And lastly, to not be ossified in our beliefs and treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. Anyway, please support us via the links below the description of this video. Every little bit counts, and you are keeping our operation afloat. Check out our cycling sponsor, theveloshop.net, and maybe buy yourself a bike if you're prepping. If you're a prepper and you don't include a bike in your prepping, the bicycle is the most efficient means ever devised to transport human beings, more efficient than a motorcycle or a plane or a train or an automobile or a horse. So in a grid down situation or a Walking Dead situation, bicycles would be used. So especially in an extended grid down scenario when gas is no longer available. Here's me doing a team time trial back in the year probably 2001 or 2. That guy there, that's me. So thanks, donors. Thanks for helping to support my 2019 cycling campaign. I am pretty much ready to race now. I just need to buy a racing license and get in there. If you're a corporate sponsor, you're looking to sponsor our whole team, which is the Velo Shop, please email me at smashomash@gmail.com. We've got 2 riders who qualify for the women's Olympic long team, and they may be going in 2020. We're not sure yet. 2019 is going to be a weird year, as all prior to Olympic seasons are. Let's go to solarham.net, and we'll look at the LASCO C2 and C3. Let's look at the in-close view first on the C2. As Mercury spits out from behind the sun. A little bit of ejecta there on the eastern limb. Otherwise, not a lot to comment on there. And let's look at the C3 also. Zoom out so you can see the timestamps. There comes Mercury. No coronal mass ejections, no sunspots, just a coronal hole. And the wind stream should be here in a day or two, probably about 2 days. I'd say 36 hours. Anyway, let's move on, as this is going to be a little shorter stream, according to all indications. Now, the 10.7 centimeter radio flux is actually down to 66 now. So you'll see this updated. If you check spaceweather.com later today, you'll see this get updated. Talking about SpaceX. And let's go to spaceweathernews.com. Make sure we're refreshed here to show you the latest data. Thanks, Terrence, for joining from Kitchener. How are things in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada? X-ray flux is flatlined. Magnetometer shows some perturbations as we forecasted yesterday. We were also able to guess that there was a sunspot or an active region forming just by looking at the Gong2 data. So the KP has dropped back down to 0, down from 2 in the past 9 hours. We see a dip in the electron flux, as is corroborated by the total electron content movie we showed earlier. And the F2 layer is very discharged, both on the sun side and the nighttime side. Please scroll. There we go. And here are your aurora forecasts. Very weak auroras. Not a lot to see there. Let's look at cosmic rays like we did yesterday, as we did see an uptick. Let's see if it's a further uptick. And indeed it is. It's only just recently subsided in the past few hours at Apatity. Barentsburg flatlined a little bit earlier than that. Next, we'll look at Athens. If we don't leave these on the screen long enough for you folks, just pause the video. We'll be here when you get back. There's Athens. Not as significant of an uptrend at Athens, which is farther south, obviously, farther from the pole. Here's Mexico City, looking similar to Athens there. Here's Moscow. Looks like it peaked out on the 23rd. Still pretty high levels, though. And next we'll look at Oulu and 2 Antarctica monitors, DOMC and DOMB. There's Oulu. Here's DOMC, and here's DOMB. And here ends today's cosmic ray flux update. Look at the Gong2 from the ecliptic top view field plot, top view ecliptic plane field plot view. This data 2 hours and 6 minutes old. We can expect to see some low levels in the magnetometer data when we get to these bunched up plasma regions. And that active region looks like it's actually weakening according to the Gong2 data. So best guess, I would say 60% chance that that active region will not turn into a sunspot. 60-40. That's my guess. Next, we'll go out to stereo A and look at the coronagraph out there, as we do each day. Because keep in mind, folks, solar flares are not required for a coronal mass ejection. So we'll let this play through. Not expecting to see very much. An interesting streamer goes across somewhere. Where was that? See if we can capture that. Keep in mind, this thing is 4 months behind the planet Earth in its orbit around the sun. And the reason we call it stereo A is because it sees the space weather first. In other words, when a sunspot rises, stereo A gets to see it first. Anyway, there's that little streak that we caught there. Some kind of, who knows what it could be. It could be anything from a small comet to, it could be cosmic ray flux. Not a lot to see there, so let's move on. Now, for any of you new viewers out there, you're not familiar with stereo A, we're going to draw in where it's located. So stereo B is somewhere around here. Stereo A is somewhere around here, creating essentially an equilateral triangle around the sun so that we're able to see the backside of the sun. Just keep in mind, stereo B has not been working since 2014. It experienced a hardware anomaly. And since then, it just ain't quite right. Anyway, there's a location of your planets. As we creep up on Jupiter, you should be able to see it in the morning sky if it's clear enough. So if you get up before dawn, check out the ecliptic. Right now, once again, we've got a lovely Moon, Saturn, Jupiter conjunction going on up there. So pretty close to their apexes too, very high in the sky right now. Great views. If you're a backyard astronomer, check it out. And I ask you, where were you when Deneb rose? Follow us on Instagram also if you like. Here's some stuff.
Dear Pickle Juice cycling team, you better watch out because there's already a lot of pickle juice in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah,
No,
we're
I'm
talking
not
about pickle
technically
juice.
a voice actor at this moment, and I'm also not Batman.
So we have a little fun on there. We do some stuff that's got nothing to do with space weather. Although sometimes we go on hikes and we get some solar spectra, such as we did yesterday. So follow us on Instagram if you like. Not very many followers, approaching 2,000 posts. Also follow us on Twitter. If your friends are on Twitter, you can view our, share our videos there. Thanks smAsho staff for uploading them. For that, we thank you. Also follow us on Facebook if you like. Here, Facebook is going to idiotically ask us for our phone number yet again, even though they already have our phone number. Facebook, you are choking hard. Please learn to write software. Anyway, follow us on facebook.com/smAshomash. We don't interact very much there, as Facebook likes to censor us and shadow ban us, etc. And I don't know what it's trying to do here, but it sucks at it. So let's just move on. Hey, Mark, hire some software engineers who are not political activists. Also follow us on minds.com/smAshomash, a social media that will not censor you. You can also earn crypto by posting here. And we've only got 701 subscribers, but we've got 447,000 plus views. And if you look at the ratios for other Minds users, you'll find that we're pretty badass. A lot of views per subscriber. So anyway, please like and subscribe to the video, subscribe to the channel, obviously, and press the notification bell, as you may even get updates when our videos go up, if the shadow bans are not in full effect on that day. Earthquake rundown. We see a 5.2 at Fiji. See a 4.9 at Colombia. How about a 4.4 at Russia, just south of Kamchatka? Here's a 5.2 at depth at Argentina. Heads up Argentina for a larger quake at the surface. 4.3 in Greece, 5.0 in India, 5.0 in Vanuatu at depth. Shout out Vanuatu. I know you're on alert 24/7 anyway in that whole region. Don't come off alert. Here's a 4.5 in eastern Russia. I mean, in western Russia there. Uncommon spot for a quake near the Caspian Sea. And a 4.8 at Russia, 4.7 in Solomon Islands there. 4.0 at New Zealand. Hala looks like it's on land. New Zealand viewers, if you felt that one, please leave a comment. And perhaps even leave a comment if you didn't feel that one. Looks like it's right near Otane. Also a 5.0 in Japan. And a 4.5 at Tonga at depth. So you folks experiencing deep quakes, be on alert for larger quakes at the surface. Let's look at pressure maps. We see that double anticyclonic system here in the North Pacific, just south of the Bering Sea. We see a strong low off of the coast of Kamchatka, as well as northern Minnesota and out in the North Atlantic. So if you're in this region right here, be very careful if you're on a boat with hunks such as Mark Wahlberg and George Clooney, as the last thing you want to see is a hunk drowning. Nobody wants to see that. Please work. Please work. Hey, let's go to volcanodiscovery.com. Pardon my heavy keystrokes. What the hell is going on with this thing? All right. Volcano rundown. Cinnabung. Producing a stratospheric eruption. Boom. Look at that. 50,000 foot ash plume, folks. That is an earth cooling event right there. So Cinnabung, a very scary volcano, exploding, producing stratospheric level volcanic ash plume. This is the kind of ash plume that makes it around the whole world in about 10 days. So whatever you do, don't fly your ultralight homemade helicopter over Cinnabung. It's very scary and producing global cooling effects just with its volcanic ash, which is not even to mention the carbonyl sulfide. If you're not familiar with carbonyl sulfide, please look it up. It's another planet cooling variable that causes cloud nucleation. Also check out Dacono, 7,000 foot plume there. Mount Agung, 15,000 foot plume there. Continuous emissions from Mervenador and Sabankai with a 27,000 foot explosion / plume. Little volcanic uptick, folks. How hot is your planet? Are you in the northern hemisphere? Is it a warm globe? Is your globe warm? Let us know. Please leave a comment if your globe is warm, cold, or medium. Looks like Michigan and Wisconsin are getting some rain, as well as Missouri. Things are calming down a little bit. Shout out anybody who's been flooded, who's had late plantings, who is still encased in snow, etc., as we are very interested in anecdotal reports. It looks like the snow has finally subsided in most of the country also, although I'm pretty sure I see a couple little snow showers there in Colorado. See heavy lightning in the Great Lakes region. Shout out Port Huron. Oh, heavy lightning. You see that stroke come in? That was like 6 ground strikes from one bolt. So powerful lightning going on there. Let's move on, as we want this video to be a very specific length. And I am not using a timer. I'm just guessing based on how I feel. Facts, not feels, folks. Facts, not feels. All right. Anyway, the atmospheric river, which is kind of like this. Was that too graphic? I apologize. Atmospheric river is finally making its way up into Canada. And it looks like it's going to miss us here in eastern Pennsylvania to the north. So let's zoom in on that zone of lightning, as there should be some violence happening. Atmospheric violence, that is. And there's the situation over your heads. Keep in mind, new viewers, we look at the water vapor map to give insight into water vapor that is not yet condensed onto clouds. This is more insightful than the Doppler radar most of the time, especially when you're not sure what's going to happen next on the Doppler, like when a storm appears to be stagnating over your head. Here's a shortwave radiation animation, also courtesy the NASA GOES interactive weather satellite. We use this to infer where clouds are and things like fog at nighttime when it is too dark to use the visible satellite. So it looks like we might get hit with a fog bank here in eastern PA. I enjoy fog banks. It makes me want to get on the bike and go ride up a mountain for some reason. I would note, look at all the Hall current streamers up here. See all those parallel lines? Perpendicular to the motion of the water. Yes, that is an electrical feature, folks. Believe it or not. We encourage our viewers to understand the distinction between their ass and a hole in the ground. And that's part of the reason why we make the videos. Here's our define a word section of the day. Today's word is
magnetohydrodynamic,
which means of, relating to, or being phenomena arising from the motion of electrically conducting fluids such as plasmas in the presence of electric and magnetic fields. Magnetohydrodynamics doesn't only run your body, it also runs the entire universe on scales from planetary to intergalactic. Magnetohydrodynamic. When we show you the magnetosphere movies, we are looking at the
magnetohydrodynamic
environment around our planet. I would recommend you use Brave browser instead of Google Chrome, as it will increase your ability to surf the web and not be tracked by every site and its parents and their web rings and their sponsors and their spammy ads. So check out Brave browser if you haven't, brave.com. And also check out duckduckgo.com, a search engine who will give you objective results, won't store your personal information ever, won't follow you around with ads, won't track you in or out of private mode. So take back your privacy and start using a real search engine instead of a subjective political hack search engine that so many people use as a verb. Eric Schmidt, creepiest man in business, period. Yeah, that's on a worldwide basis. We're going to skip transients today. We're going to cover one article about Pakistan, who's doing very stupid things. Now, those are not giant China markers. Those are tactical nuclear weapons. And guess what Pakistan has done? Pakistan has moved a series of tactical nuclear weapons to a very close area to the Indian border. Now, as you may be aware, Pakistan and India have been fighting for decades. And it's the border actually between Pakistan and India is considered the most dangerous place in the world. Now, these missiles have a range of 35 to 60 miles. Let me read you this quote, which may make you a little bit uneasy, especially if you live downwind. For instance, in China, where I'm sure you have no ability to watch this video. When it comes to Pakistan's strategic nuclear weapons, their parts are stored in different locations to be assembled only upon an order from the country's leader. By contrast, tactical nukes are pre-assembled at a nuclear facility and shipped to a forward base for instant use. In addition to the perils inherent in this policy, such weapons would be vulnerable to misuse by a rogue base commander or theft by one of the many militant groups in the country. See, that's not normal. That's not normal. This is a perilous departure from the universal practice of investing such authority in the highest official of the nation. Such a situation has no parallel in the Washington-Moscow nuclear arms race of the Cold War era. In other words, nobody else is deploying nukes and allowing ground-based people that are like colonel rank to be able to just launch a nuclear weapon at a 35 to 60 mile range. Dumb idea, Pakistan. If you're watching, Islamabad, we're not pleased. So it's time to go back. It's time to go back. Open up the chat. And thanks for joining, everybody. We're going to talk about more solar stuff. We're going to browse some more data. So let's go back. We're going to look at the last 9 hours and 15 minutes in 304 angstroms at full resolution. We see that active region, which is shown as a bright orangish area here, right there. There is a pretty large plasma filament in the northeast. Nothing to really write home about. Some filaments dancing in the northwest also. Terrence Mooney stating that planting is still delayed and that temperatures remain below average. Drop, what will happen in July, Drop, and thanks for commenting. Randy Weiss says it's getting pretty toasty in South Florida. Korgrog, are you saying that you're located in Port Huron, Michigan? Yeah, you know, never believe what they say about lightning never striking the same place twice. Lightning absolutely strikes the same place twice. For instance, volcanic calderas. For some reason, volcanic calderas tend to have lightning going up them occasionally. Probably not a coincidence. If you see lightning strike an area, don't think that it's safe to stand in that area. There might be a ley line right there. There could be an underground iron deposit. There could be something underground that you're not seeing, like a giant piece of man-made metal there. Who knows? We'll do one more image of the sun here. Go to the 94 angstroms view, as this one shows 5 times as many frames than the other ones. And there you go. There's the last 9.5 hours. Super weak activity. Again, 10.7 centimeter radial flux all the way down to 66. Legitimate solar minimum levels. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks, donors, especially, as you are keeping our operation functioning. Just barely. So in any case, thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Remember, when you're staring at the sun, don't drink. And if you drink, stare at the sun anyway. Just don't drive. Use the correct instruments like the SDO or the SOHO or a backyard telescope filter. And remember, since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.